Hello there, and thanks for joining us for this session on virtual parent and family engagement. And thank you for tuning in to some of our episodes for the Redesign Virtual Conference, Fall 2020. My name is Tammy Mitchell. I'm the Elementary Redesign Specialist here at the State Department of Education, and I want to take you through some lessons that we learned last spring with partnering with Parent Camp and how you might want to consider hosting occasional virtual parent and family engagement events that are interactive, more interactive than what you're going to experience from me right now. So what we're talking about here is a virtual almost ed camp for families, and Parent Camp partnered with us to teach us some of their tips and tricks. What's important about this type of a virtual event is that if you can find a way to survey your participants ahead of time, you can ask them what they want to talk about and plan breakout conversations where they can talk about the topic of their choice. And so this is different than what I'm doing right now, where I'm doing all of the talking and you don't have an opportunity to have input. And it's really not like a webinar either. It's just a virtual place for people to hang out and talk about important school-related topics. If you want to know more about Parent Camp, you can go to www.parentcamp.org. Laura Gilchrist and Julia Pyle are the leaders of Parent Camp, and they also host a nationwide virtual Parent Camp for topics related to education nationally. So if you're curious about how Parent Camp works virtually, you can tune into one of those and participate. But why would you want to do something like this? Well, the why is courage, compassion, and connection. And so Brene Brown, author of the book, The Gifts of Imperfection, has this statement that we believe, Parent Camp and KSDE, we believe this really fits. And she says, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they can derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. Right now, and throughout this whole COVID-19 crisis that is continuing, people need to feel connected. They need to feel seen and heard and valued. And when you can't bring families together in a space because of social distancing and all of the awkwardness and logistics of that, people still need relationships. And so how might you create an opportunity for people to be seen and heard and feel valued? And that really is the why you might want to consider something like this. Now, regarding how, there are some logistical things that you want to think about. I'm going to show you slides that are basically a checklist of things you would want to consider. I'm happy to meet with you and have a deeper conversation. If you want to host your own and you need more support, I can take you through something deeper, but this is just an overview. And so when you're thinking about hosting your own virtual family engagement event, you need to be prepared ahead of time. You need to think about marketing, and you need to think about registration. One of the worst things you can do is put out a wide open Zoom link for anyone to join, because you may not get just families and community members. You might get hackers, you might get scammers, you might get people that want to derail your conversation. So really thinking about that registration is important. We're going to talk a little bit about equality conditions. Ahead of time, you're going to want to identify one host who is kind of the MC for the event, who welcomes participants and gets things started on a positive note. You're going to want to identify one person to work behind the scenes in Zoom or whatever platform you're using to, do the breakout sessions and bring everyone back and keep things going on a timed schedule. And then you're going to want to identify and train facilitators for breakout groups. And when I say train, don't think of it as something really long and complex. When we trained our facilitators, it took us maybe 30 minutes just to walk them through what they could expect, and give them some tips on how to not monopolize the conversation, but how to really encourage others to talk to each other. So this is just a checklist of things to consider when you're preparing for the event. Again, I can give you more information about these, but you can just, I'm going to give you like 3 to 4 seconds to just peruse this list, and I'm going to be quiet. One thing you might have noticed on there is identify translators. If you have families that do not speak English, you're going to want to make sure that you provide a way for them to engage as well. And providing translators or providing an opportunity in their language is going to be really, really important. Promotion is super important because depending on your Zoom accounts, it's possible that parents and family members can use a phone number to call in. So they wouldn't necessarily have to have the technology or the device if they have a phone. And so when you promote it, think about promoting your event on certainly social media, email, your website. Also consider your school sign or your newspaper, maybe a radio station. Maybe you have a calling tree. Post flyers in public places. Try to reach the people that aren't necessarily looking at your website every day or may not have access to email. Be sure to promote it in multiple languages. Try to promote it in every language that families speak. I know some districts you're thinking, well, there's 65 different languages. I know that's not always possible, but we have to just keep trying to do that. Keep in mind that families who don't speak English might not be in the habit of checking your website or checking their email. I talked with one school who only posted notices on their website, but their website was only in English, and they had quite a few Spanish-speaking families that can't read English. So just be mindful of that. And you might even want to go door to door with information, at least a week in advance. If you have a family engagement person in your school and you want to have them go door to door, even just putting flyers in the doorknobs, that is a tactic that worked for some schools that tried it this spring. Here's a sample agenda. It's super brief. You have people start joining in at 7. You do a whole group welcome. You're going to need to do some type, this says Zoom orientation. You're going to have to give participants an orientation to the platform. Have them practice muting and unmuting. Have them practice putting answers to things in the chat. Do some fun check-in questions so that people can practice those features in a lighthearted way before you go into the breakout sessions. Then you can see the chunk of the time is really dedicated to breakout sessions. We'll talk about those in a minute. And then you bring everyone back together for a group closing, thank them for their time, do a little Q&A and a little bit of reflection. So you can see that in just a little over an hour, you can have a really meaningful and engaging event with families and community members. The thing about this particular format are equality conditions. So people that participate, they have autonomy, they have voice and choice. Autonomy means when they get to a breakout room, if that conversation really isn't meeting their need, they can leave that breakout room and go to a different breakout room. And that's where you need to have someone behind the scenes in Zoom watching that, so that when someone pops up and wants to go to another breakout room, they can be assigned smoothly and efficiently. The breakout sessions are two-way conversations. It's not what I'm doing here. It's not a sit and get. And so selecting facilitators that maybe have some instructional coaching background or counseling background that really know how to ask good questions and then are comfortable with being quiet and helping others feel that opportunity to speak. Just some things about getting them comfortable with Zoom and your facilitators. You want them to be neutral. You want them to demonstrate an energetic and positive presence. You need to prepare them ahead of time that people may be coming and going. They shouldn't take it personally if someone leaves that breakout room and goes to another one. Depending on the topics, families might want to talk a little bit about multiple topics. So the facilitator shouldn't take that personally, and the facilitator needs to be a good listener, trying to summarize what people say and validate those conversations. Your MC or your host can have a role during those breakouts too. That person can pop in and out of different breakout rooms, listen in on conversations, or provide support to the facilitator if needed. The benefit of you hosting your own with your own families is that you're going to know the people that are there. So you might know which breakout room might need a little bit more support, and a host can help with that. These are just some suggestions on how to kick it off. There's a lot of text here. Again, if you're interested in hosting your own, we can talk through this on a deeper level. But just to make sure that the facilitator identifies who they are and what their role is, that they're neutral, they're not really a contributor to the topic. I mean, we can talk about if you have topics where you want professionals to speak and give a little bit of content, that should not be the facilitator. So we can talk about as you get better and more fluent with how to host events like this, you can change up how those breakout sessions work a little bit. Again, more guidance just for the facilitators, keeping the flow positive, calling participants by name, all of those things that make a person a great host or hostess needs to be conveyed through the video. So when you have a wrap up, sometimes it's fun to take a group picture. Most of the time people are okay with that, but you want to give them a heads up, say, hey, we want to take a group picture. If you want to be in on the picture, please keep your video on. If you don't, we understand, but certainly thank everyone for their time and participation in the discussion. And then you bring them back to the whole group for some gratitude, some shout outs, some sharing of what they heard. And so really in a little over an hour with some planning and prep ahead of time, a team of facilitators, someone who really knows how to run Zoom, you too can host a meaningful conversation with families and community members where people can feel heard, seen, and valued. And so I hope that you'll consider this, and let's all be there for each other and help build and solidify relationships during these really tough times. If you want to know more, you want me to talk you through specifically planning an event, I'm happy to do that. My name is Tammy Mitchell. I'm the redesign specialist at KSDE. You can email me at tmitchell@ksde.org. If you want to get involved more with Parent Camp and use their trademark and their logo, I can also put you in touch with Laura Gilchrist and Julia Pyle from Parent Camp. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Good luck, build those relationships, take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much.